Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Dr. Glenn Pomerantz, and I serve as the Chief Medical Officer at Point 32 Health. As one of the top 20 health plans in the United States, Point 32 Health builds on the quality of our founding organizations, and you remember them and know them as Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. We are the only health plan in Massachusetts to serve members, regardless of age or circumstance. That includes employer-sponsored plans, Medicare, Medicaid, those who are both dual eligible for Medicare and Medicaid, and those who purchase their insurance through the connector. The breadth and depth of our membership provides our plan with the local insight necessary and required to serve the Massachusetts population. Today, you will hear from 3 representatives behind me to my left, from the companies at the forefront of innovation, working collaboratively to develop pioneering solutions in their approach to early cancer detection. And they are GRAIL, John Hancock, and my own Point 32 Health. Frankly, it's inspiring to see companies like John Hancock with deep local roots possess this commitment. Historically, insurers are not known for being fast or cutting edge. But Point 32 Health and John Hancock are 2 Massachusetts organizations committed to changing this perception. Partnering with GRAIL is one of the ways our companies are willing to take prudent risk that offer real hope for cancer patients that are high risk for cancer. As a physician, I can tell you that I'm struck by the fact that we are at a pivotal time in history in relation to oncology and precision medicine. Over the last century, we bore witness to a golden age of medicine in cancer care, and that started with the discovery of radium and polonium by Marie and Pierre Curie, and within a few years, radiation was being used to treat cancer. Soldiers returning from the trenches of World War I battlefields exposed to mustard gas developed lymphatic tissue destruction and bone marrow suppression. And this realization led to the discovery of alkylating agents, selectively targeting rapidly dividing cancer cells. At the same time, right here in Boston, our own Sidney Farber demonstrated that an antimetabolite, a derivative of folic acid, could temporarily induce remission in what was untreatable before childhood leukemia. It was a remarkable moment. These discoveries established the foundation that chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery would be the cornerstone of cancer treatment for the next 100 years. Today, molecular diagnostic testing, our topic today, and immuno-oncology treatments heralds a new age, a new golden age for us in medicine and cancer care. And this one may deliver the cure, a disease that has impacted all of us, whether it be ourselves, our loved ones, and I thank you in these opening comments for coming today, sharing this moment with us, and I know all of you, like me, are excited to hear this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pomerantz. Of course, we are a biotech hub with labs, startups, companies of all sizes working on life-saving innovations. There are also other initiatives happening in our area that are taking a proactive approach to longevity. As we just heard, they include 3 entities represented here today. And a lot of this is based on technology from the Human Genome Project and knowledge from that, a lot of the work that was done here in the Boston area. I want to begin now with Dr. Klein to briefly explain how the Galleri test works.
Sure, and thanks for having me. So we've known for several decades that cancers, even at the earliest stages, shed DNA into the bloodstream. And it wasn't until the technology developed by the Human Genome Project called Next Generation Sequencing allowed us to see that signal and filter out all the background noise of all the normal DNA that's in our bloodstream. So GRAIL's blood test Galleri detects a shared cancer signal across many dozens of cancers and can detect it at early stage and asymptomatic stages when cure is more easily possible.
And what's interesting about this is that right now, I want to also make this point, we have so few ways to detect cancer. It's the handful of exams, most of them are time consuming and they have to be on site, that test only a limited number of cancers. We all know about the mammograms and the colonoscopies and the pap smears, but there are so many other cancers that there's just no way to monitor for them.
That's correct. Let me make clear that GRAIL's test is intended to supplement existing screening tests, which we know reduce mortality. But here's an interesting statistic. Despite the fact that we screen for these 5 cancers, we lose 600,000 people a year to cancer in the United States. And the reason for that is that 70% of the cancers that people die from are for cancers that we don't screen for. And so there's this huge unmet need that a blood test can address.
Yep, more than 600,000 people will lose their battle with cancer. About 1.9 million people annually will get diagnosed. And Lindsay Hansen from John Hancock, sadly, they will be among your clients as you are the largest life insurer in the country. Although the test is relatively new, John Hancock decided to offer it. Can you tell me how that came about?
It's actually a great bringing together of amazing companies that we're sitting with today, and several that are listening. It's just been an amazing partnership where we found and like to partner with companies that share our values, that share in helping customers, people, patients live longer, healthier, and better lives. And so it actually started with our CEO, Brooks Tingle, seeing a news article on the news in December. We very quickly got on the phone with GRAIL and said, we want to be able to do this partnership. What is this? To be able to understand it and be able to move that forward. And right from the onset, it was a beautiful partnership for us to be able to bring together to say, we have this need that we see in our customers, as you had just said, Janet, that we know we're going to lose them. And the stats that I continue to hear, and every time I hear them, it gives me chills to know that we're not screening for more than 5 cancers on a regular basis, and we need to be doing more. So we wanted to bring that to our customers. We firmly believe that we can be helping, and we're already starting to see that take fold.
I'm going to ask you about that in a moment and what the adoption has been like that, but we're moving now from the largest life insurer to this very large health insurer, as we heard from Dr. Pomerantz, in the top 20 in size in the country, and I believe you cover more than 2 million people. Similar question, why did you as a health insurer decide to offer this test that people are still just learning about?
Yeah, so you already mentioned the fact that we're losing 600,000 people a year in the United States, and 2/3 of those don't have cancer screenings. At Point 32 Health, we have over 2 million members. I lead a team of clinical innovation, and we look at those emerging technologies and solutions that address challenges within the healthcare ecosystem, and oncology is definitely one of those areas. And we have depth and breadth of expertise on my team that are really navigating these solutions and understanding where there might be opportunities to empower healthier lives for our members, implement demonstration projects that really look at robust outcome metrics that ultimately inform how we roll these types of solutions out within our membership. So really saw the opportunity in this space. Definitely see the value as it relates to multi-cancer early detection screening, in that it has the promise to move the needle as far as cancer detection.
Dr. Klein, I feel like I need to bring up that this is not Theranos, because the first time a lot of people heard about blood testing with diseases, it was that unfortunate case. Can you please briefly explain the difference?
Well, Theranos was, I'm not sure I can explain what Theranos was trying to do.
Fair enough.
What I can say is that Theranos had no true scientists on their advisory board. And we are informed by the best scientific oncology minds in the world. Furthermore, we have committed clinical trials and testing to more than 300,000 people who are in our clinical trials now, and have published high-quality scientific data in very high-quality journals. And we have a publication coming out in the next few weeks in The Lancet, which is one of the highest ranked journals in the world.
And a lot of the studies, and also the patient studies, were done with institutions here in Boston.
Yes, including Dana-Farber participated in this particular study that's going to be published shortly.
Mm-hmm. Lindsay, you are a life insurance company that is broad, global. Since we are talking about Boston being a longevity hub, In the short amount of time that you have stepped up to offer this test, I'm curious, how has the adoption rate been? And because we tend to be health focused here in Boston, has the adoption rate in Boston been different from, say, your clients elsewhere?
You know, it's interesting. We have, as I said, just very quickly moved into the partnership of offering the Galleri test through Grail to our customers. And we've offered it to over 44,000 of our customers, which may seem small from some of the numbers we've been talking about, but what we've done is we've used our platform of the Vitality offering that we bring to market with our life insurance customers to be able to connect with our customers, ask them different questions, being able to engage with them to help them with their overall health and well-being. So that's been the platform for us to be able to bring the Galleri test. The response, Janet, has been tremendous. It's been gratefulness. It's been thank you so much. It's been I had never heard of this before, but we've also had customers come to us and say, I actually just had my doctor bring this to me, and now I'm seeing it from my life insurance carrier. Mm-hmm. That's remarkable. And so to hear those things where we're really meeting life insurance with health, with overall well-being has really been a game changer for us. I'm not sure, though, if Boston is a bit of a higher response rate to that, but I can say across the board, it has been a tremendous response, and we're looking forward to doing more.
Kate, also a benefit of this, and I just took the test myself, is that we tend to put off screenings because they take time. You have to schedule it with a hospital. Sometimes they get rescheduled. You have to take time off from work. You have to wait in a waiting room. I actually took the test yesterday just to see what it was like, and it is just a simple blood draw. It was less than what I usually do to donate blood because I'm not giving a pint. And you also, well, first of all, let me ask you this. I imagine what you're hoping for in your customer client base is that you will just increase testing because you have to be with your customers when they get unfortunate news that leads to treatment that is usually really difficult.
Right. So like you said, it doesn't replace the existing cancer screenings, but it does offer promise. And like you mentioned, not enough people are even getting the screenings that are available at this point due to barriers as far as access. So this type of testing definitely offers promise as it relates to access, in that it's just a blood test, and that removes some of those barriers. We, and like you at John Hancock, have seen great response related to the demonstration project we're doing in this space. Rolled it out initially with our colleagues, our employees at Point 32 Health. Yeah. Had over 400 people participate there, and we're currently in a phase of our project where we're working with Mass General Brigham and our subset of our commercial membership that has PCPs at Mass General Brigham.
I want to quickly ask you about that, and to be a little bit redundant, but you were also among the first to offer it to your employees. And tell me about reaching that decision.
So that was something that, our employees are definitely, as valued as our members are as well. So it is a great opportunity. It was presented a great opportunity for us to really understand how the process works. So how would our members experience the whole operational process around ordering the test, taking the test, learning the results? All of that was helpful for us from a beginning standpoint. And to your point, they were so incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have access to this type of testing.
I'm going to ask you both about some real life cases that have emerged, but I want to ask Dr. Klein first. So you get this blood test, you wait a couple weeks, and what should you expect, both on the positive and on the worrisome side?
So the test report will initially tell you whether or not a cancer signal detected was present. Whether a cancer signal was detected, suggesting the presence of cancer, or a signal was not detected. 99.5% of the reports will be negative. In the rare circumstance where it's positive, like all screening tests, like having an abnormal finding on a mammogram, that instigates a diagnostic workup to determine whether or not the signal was real. Another aspect of the test is that with about 90% accuracy, it can predict what the cancer tumor type is. We call that cancer site of origin. So that helps direct the diagnostic workup.
Now that to me is fascinating because right now we have so many different kinds of cancer. It can be blood, which you cannot see. It can be bone. It could be a mass. It can also present in organs that we actually really cannot see, like the brain. And so do you think at this point doctors know what to do with the information, or are we still on a learning curve for that? And if we are, I bet a lot of that innovation will also happen here in Boston.
Yes, no doubt about the latter. And we are all, industry and users, are on the learning curve about what we will discover and how best to respond to a test report and how to efficiently go through the diagnostic workup.
Can you quickly tell me how many tests have been administered now so far?
Yeah, a little over 120,000. Yeah, just on the commercial side. That's in addition, as I mentioned, to our substantial research commitment of more than 300,000.
So I want to move on back to Kate and Lindsay now. Kate, I think I'll ask you first. You've had some real life cases come about that you've seen the power of the test.
I would say from a colleague or employee perspective, that's really where we have the experience as far as really having a lot of gratefulness for having access to the test. We don't have access to the results for our employees, obviously, from a privacy perspective. Right now, the phase of the pilot or the project that we're in is with the provider piece, so with Mass General Brigham, and really understanding how the test acts in, we like to call it the wild. Like, to your point, providers are learning, members are learning. I would say we're early enough in that particular phase of the project that we don't have member stories. From an employee perspective, I would share, and this person actually spoke publicly too, who had a family history of several cancers that don't have screening tests available. She took the test as one of our colleagues, and she was incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have that test.
Yeah, that peace of mind, or just
Absolutely.
more peace of mind, is so important. Lindsay, I believe you've heard of some cases that have actually come about where people have detected things that were missed. Either they weren't screened or some of the screening tools missed these cancers.
Yeah, so one thing to point out, and I like offering it out in the wild, that was an interesting way of thinking about it, just out to all of our customers. One of the things is we don't get the individualized data, whether it's employee, whether it's customer, whatever that may be. But what we do know from GRAIL is that we have had a handful of our customers who are now GRAIL patients get the signal detected for cancer and are undergoing treatment. And the stories that have been shared back, again, not knowing who the customer is, who the patient is, has been a bit of a journey. The customer of ours received the offer to be able to go and take the Galleri test, brought it to their doctor and said, hey, is this something I should be doing? The doctor said, no, you're fine. Gold star of health, no problems. I wouldn't recommend it for you. And we continue to send out information, something you should do. We believe in it. We're going to continue to offer it. And so he went and said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and take this test anyway and be able to do that. And got the results and unfortunately had the positive signal. And again, brought it back to the doctor, and the doctor said, nope, it's, that's not proven. So I do think there's still that, continuous level of education. We're all continuing to learn what this is and the results of it. And thankfully, this person went and got a second opinion, and within 3 days was in treatment for pancreatic cancer. And if you just think about that, I'm in perfect health. We actually had GRAIL join us at a symposium last week, and they shared one of their customer testimonials. And her story was very similar. She had gotten her gold star on health. She had just gone through her physical. Everything was great. And she just took the test because her partner was offered the test. And very similar story. She ended up with cancer positive. And it's remarkable that we are able to detect cancer early with GRAIL, or GRAIL can help detect cancer early for some of our customers when it can be cured.
Yeah, especially with these cancers that are often not found until they're stage 4 and it's way too late.
Right.
And I do want to clarify that in each of these cases, the information does not go to the company. So it doesn't affect their relationship with you. It's just another tool for you as an individual. I opened the talk by referencing the Human Genome Project and why that makes this possible. And this, of course, is decades and decades of research, and it actually accomplished something that probably 50, 60 years ago, we didn't even think would be possible. For those of us who are not as familiar with that, Dr. Klein, can you explain what the Human Genome Project did and why that was necessary in order to develop a test like this?
Yeah, the Human Genome Project allowed us to understand the structure of DNA in normal individuals and then to compare variations between individuals who are normal to see why some people get some diseases and some people don't get others and that sort of thing. And it also allowed us to recognize the difference between normal DNA and cancer DNA using something called methylation, which is a fingerprint. And methylation is a normal cellular process that cells use to become the cells they want to be. So for example, a liver cell uses methylation to turn on all the genes that say, make me a liver cell, and turn off all the genes that would say, make me a lung cell. Cancers exploit that process and turn on all the genes that allow unrestricted growth and turn off all the genes that don't allow them to grow. And so that's what it did for us.
We're getting some great audience questions, some of which I already know the answers to, but I'm going to ask them for the information to be spread. Someone asked, is it a one-time test? And it's not. It's a moment in time. That's what we heard during our COVID testing. So how often is it recommended that this test be
So
taken?
we're still learning about that, but the data that we have suggests that this test will be appropriately used once a year, very similar to some of our other screening tests.
Another question, when will tests actually be direct to customer on the market, and that you don't have to go through your doctor, and many of the doctors may not even know exactly how to refer it yet. And you know, fortunately, if you are insured by a company like Point32, John Hancock, that bring it to you, is there a time when people will just be able to sign up for the test on their own?
Hard to say. That's a government regulatory issue that hasn't been looked at yet.
Thanks, by the way, for all of the great questions, and keep them coming. So we talked about the Human Genome Project. I want to dig into a little bit more with Boston as this longevity hub. Where do you think the research goes from here? Now that this has been completed, what are some of the other things being studied that are related to helping us live longer?
Well, it's not really my expertise.
Yeah.
I'll give you a commercial, though. I just started reading Peter Attia's book, which is very interesting. And he talks about a concept which I love, which is called health span rather than lifespan.
Yeah.
So lifespan is how long you live. Health span is how long you live well. And I think that what he calls medicine 3.0, we should be focusing on health span, and this technology certainly feeds into that.
And a lot of that has to do with increased testing and monitoring. And Lindsay, I want to bring you into this conversation because John Hancock recently made this switch, of course, being one of the iconic companies of Boston, to say, you know, when we offer life insurance, people actually just associate us with death. You know, you take out a policy, you don't work.
Right.
So talk to me about that pivot. And this involves a lot of tools, technology that you're bringing from companies, laboratories, research to individuals about this pivot that John Hancock is trying to make to emphasize the life of life insurance.
Yeah, so we've actually started on this journey back in 2015. So I like to say we're about 8.5 years young on this journey of making life insurance about living and about the customers and what they can do. And if you think of traditional life insurance, it is not a lot of communication from the carrier. It's a privacy notice you're getting in a bill. And past that, there's not a lot of communication that you're getting. And so what we did back in 2015 is we rolled out our John Hancock Vitality program. And Vitality is an organization that we've partnered with to be able to bring this type of program, Janet, that you were speaking about, to bring technology, tools, resources, and rewards out to our customers to help them live a longer, healthier, and better life. And we've been able to partner with a lot of great organizations along the way, whether that's through our Apple Watch program, whether that's through rewards and benefits they can get through the Tufts Medical School, and most recently, the Galleri test that we've been able to offer. And so where we started this conversation is, how have we been able to get this test out to as many people as possible? It's been through this Vitality program. Our customers are used to hearing from us 20 to 30 times a month. That's very different than 1 to 2 times a year. And it's not about a privacy notice and a bill.
Yeah.
It's about, you've done this, here's what you get for it. This is available to you as a customer of ours. This is something that you get to do and participate in if you want to. The choice is yours. And so it's really changed the dynamic in how we've engaged our customers, how they've engaged with us, because they're really a way that we're able to change what we're doing. They're a voice in what we're doing, and they're an active participant in the programs and the opportunities that we bring forward. So we've definitely changed the game. We're new to this as well, though, because we want to continue to innovate and change what we're offering and make sure that it's with the latest and greatest technology.
And also the emphasis, it's a blood draw, so it's safe. It's not as if you have a lot of complications as, when you take a colonoscopy, you do have to sign these things that even though it's rare, a bunch of things can happen because there are instruments in you. Dr. Klein said that 100,000 have been given in the commercial sense, not through the testing. Do you know how many have been administered through the John Hancock portal so far?
So I know that we've offered it to about 44,000 of our customers. I'm not sure exactly how many. We're not told how many have taken it or how many have taken up on the offering and those things. It's just more aggregate. So I don't know offhand, but I know upwards of 44,000, and we're going to continue to expand that out.
Kate, same question for you. Can you tell me how many people has been offered to, and do you have any idea how many people have actually jumped in to take the test?
So we've had about 1,000 people overall that have taken the test so far.
I want to bring in another issue, and that is we're constantly reminded, or we believe that healthcare is a problem that can't be solved, that it's so expensive, we can't afford it, you better keep your job, we don't have health insurance, it's so expensive. Do you see a way that something like this can help contain costs? Because I would imagine that if you can catch things earlier, maybe as a society, we have fewer, hopefully, late-stage cases where the cost of treatment is just astronomical.
Absolutely. When you're looking at this type of technology, of course, the hope is that you're detecting cancers that don't have screenings, but you're also hoping that you're shifting the paradigm as far as diagnosing earlier when the cost is lower and the outcomes are better.
And I have a question for you related to longevity. I'm going to ask you, and then I'll come back to Lindsay. And that is, in general, when we're talking about longevity, screening has changed for all of us because 30 years ago, we weren't checking things on our wrists and our fingers and waking up and seeing scores. In your client base, these 2.2 million people, just talk about this trend that's growing with all this monitoring that we didn't even believe was possible.
No, and I think it sort of begs the question around innovation just in general as you're looking at the opportunity in the healthcare space. And that's where I feel very fortunate that Point32 Health has put an emphasis on innovation and really, as it relates to health equity as well, because that's definitely an area of importance to the organization. So from my perspective, innovation has the potential to perpetuate or even exacerbate inequities. So it's really important that we're thoughtful about these innovations that have the potential to displace the standard of care, where you might have equitable or superior outcomes. So that's where I feel like this type of testing has a place. And to your point, there's a lot of technology out there. It's understanding where that real value is for our members and navigating that for them.
Lindsay, I have some questions that have to go directly to Dr. Klein, but I want you to speak just very briefly. You've definitely seen the self-monitoring increase because you partner with a lot of that as well. The sleep scores and your activity and your weight and such.
Yeah, no, we've seen our customers really take hold of the health and the information that they have at their fingertips, and we want to give them choice in how they do that and then reward them along the way and tie it back to their life insurance, which is something that's unique.
Dr. Klein, there's a lot of curiosity about the test, so I'm going to rapid fire some questions to you. Really good questions. Can the test be used in a person who was previously treated for cancer?
Yes.
And can it identify a different cancer or a recurrence of a cancer that has been already treated?
Yeah, both. What's important to recognize is people with a prior history of cancer are at higher risk of getting a second cancer, which may not be the one that they were treated for.
I believe the statistic, but please correct me if I am wrong. I believe in all new cancers, a fifth of them are clearly from people that had recovered from a prior cancer.
That's correct.
Another great question. Will the test be made available to people under the age of 50, in the range of 40 to 50? Because there was a recent Globe article. The headline was young, healthy, and diagnosed with cancer. Before, we used to think of 50 as that age where you needed to start all these screenings. We have definitely seen through mammograms, colonoscopies, et cetera, that there are a lot of cancers that are increasing in younger people. So this question, will the test be made available to younger people?
So perhaps way in the future. Here's the important explanation. there's an increased relative risk compared to historical trends of getting cancer when you're under 50. But the absolute risk, the actual number of patients who are getting cancer in large numbers, starts at age 50. That, in fact, age is the biggest risk factor that we have for cancer, followed by smoking and then obesity. So for now, we're focused on those at highest risk. Those are folks over 50.
And that is sort of the conundrum of this idea to live longer. We are living longer, and there's promise that we will continue to increase our lifespans, hopefully. But with that is going to come an increase of cancers. We are down to our last few minutes, so I always like to look forward. And Kate, let me start with you on point 32, because both of you as insurance companies, you have stepped up to take a lead. And I just want to ask you, do you foresee, because you've already done this as a leader in health insurance, do you foresee that this is going to be something that will be widespread offered and that people will start demanding from their health insurers?
I think it's too early to understand kind of in the short term, but I do think that this technology and the promise of this type of multi-cancer early detection, especially being a blood test and reducing those barriers to screening, is very promising. I think it's trying to understand what the appropriate population to target for the testing is and the frequency of the testing, but I definitely see it in the future.
Similar question to you, Lindsay, from the life insurance perspective. I know that you are rolling out many, many more tools, but coming on the horizon, will we see even more? What are the trends there?
There's definitely trends for wanting more information about someone's health, about someone's well-being. And so this is a great step to be able to do that. I don't know if there will be this increased demand, but we're continuing to look at innovations in this space so that we continue to be the first life insurance company to bring these types of opportunities to our customers. And we want to continue to be able to do that. So I do think there will be an increased demand of consumers to want to know more about their health. And we're happy to be there as their life insurance carrier to be able to offer these to them that maybe they weren't aware of otherwise.
And Dr. Klein, a final question for you before we go to closing remarks. The test is new and it itself is still evolving. Right now, I believe about 50 cancers that you said that the test can identify the DNA that is shed from cancer cells as a marker. What's going to happen with this test in the future? Will we continue to see more and more types of cancers added? What is the evolution?
So I'm not certain about that last part, but I suspect that's true as we understand the biology. The future that I see is that this technology will be used as a routine part of screening for cancer for all of us in our lifetimes. We'll be using it in individuals who present to primary care physicians with vague symptoms that are uncertain whether they might be due to cancer or some other condition, to quickly make a decision on how best to work those patients up. And the same technology is being used to monitor patients and identify early recurrences in people who have been treated with cancer previously. So all three of those, I think, will be a routine part of medical practice.
And a question I just have to ask. Right now, it's $1,000, correct, out of pocket?
$949, I think.
Okay,
Yes.
round it up.
Yes.
And I imagine as it becomes more popular, we might see that price go down?
Yeah, everybody in the industry recognizes the need to democratize screening, that the cost will have to come down.
All right.
And that's the natural history of screening. You can the first human genome, where you started, was billions of dollars.
Billions of
right?
dollars,
And now
yes.
you can screen a whole genome for $100. It's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah, with the machines, the technology, everything. Well, now it is time for some closing remarks from Lindsay Hansen, from John Hancock.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining both virtually and in person today, and so happy to be here with Point 32 and Grail. And Janet, thank you for moderating the conversation today. It's just been remarkable to be in partnership with both of these organizations, just have such a tremendous respect for both organizations, what we're doing. And what is really great about our relationship and partnership is coming back to the values that we have as organizations, and that is through our DNA, through our cultures with our employees. We've been pleased to start to offer the Grail test to our employees just this week at a discounted rate, and we've seen such a tremendous uptake. And for anyone who's here today and joining the Boston Globe Summit, we actually are going to be giving out 50 discounts on the test today, so please see someone to be able to take advantage of that here if you are eligible to be able to do that. So see someone here to be able to do that. Thank you so much for coming, for listening to the conversation, and for being a part of the change. And I hope you have a really great rest of the day.
I think I think this was a great way to close out by looking
Absolutely.
forward to living longer. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.